The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. Read by Diabolikal. True, nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous, I had been and am. But why will you say that I am mad? The disease has sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all the senses of hearing acute, I heard all things in heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How, then, am I mad? Hearken and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how the first idea entered my brain, but once conceived it haunted me day and night. Object there was none, passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture, a pale blue, with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold, and by slow degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now this is the point. You fancy me mad, madmen knowing nothing, but you should have seen me. You should have seen how wise I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it, oh so gently. And then, when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed, so that no light shone out. And then I thrust my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place the whole head within the opening so far that I could see him laying upon his bed. Ah! Would a madman have been so wise as this? And then, when my head was in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously, oh so cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye, and this I did for 7 long nights, every night just as midnight fell. But I found the eye always closed, and so it was impossible to do the work, for it was not the old man who vexed me, but the evil eye. And every morning, when day broke, I boldly went into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone, and inquiring how he had passed the night, so that he could see what had been a very profound old man. Indeed, to suspect that every night just at 12 I looked in upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch's minute's hand moved more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feeling of triumph to think that there I was opening the door little by little, and he not even to dream of my secret deed or thought. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly, as if startled. Now you may think that I drew back, but no, his head was as black as pitch, for with the thick darkness, for the shutters were closed fastened through fear of robbers, and so I knew he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing it on steadily. I had my head in, and was about to open the lantern when my thumb slipped Upon the tin fastened, the old man sprang up his bed, crying out, "Who is there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed, listening, just as I have done night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall. Presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was a groan of mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain or grief. Oh no. It was the low, stifled sound that arose from the bottom of the soul, overcharged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, when all the world slept, it was welled from my own bosom, deepening with a dreadful echo. The terrors had distracted me. I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt, and pitied him. Although I chuckled at heart, I knew he had been lying awake ever since the first slight noise. When he had turned the bed, his fears had been ever since growing upon him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not. He had been saying to himself, "It's nothing but the wind in the chimney. It is only a mouse crossing the floor," or "It is merely a cricket which has made a single chirp." Yes, he had been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found all in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked with a black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. And it was the mournful influence of unperceived shadow that caused him to feel, although he never saw nor heard, to feel the presence of my head within the room. When I had waited a long time patiently without hearing him lie down, I resolved to a very, very little crevice in the lantern, so I opened it. You cannot imagine how stealthily, until a length of simply dim ray, like the thread of a spider, shot out the crevice and fell upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide open. I grew furious, and I gazed upon it. I saw it with a perfect distinctness, all a dull blue, with a hideous feel over it, chilled the very marrow of my bones.